All right. Well, I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready.
Let's put it in gear. All righty. Wait, welcome back to another episode of Road Noise. Dad and I are we're just happy to hang out with one another, and we're just also enjoying your company as well. Thank you for hanging out with us, and
Yeah.
thank you for continuing your listening and sharing this with your friends and your network. We appreciate that, and it's probably the best thing that you can do to kind of encourage us as well is to just share it with somebody that you might think this finds just a moment of encouragement. So, yeah, just for those that are if you're just now joining us, Dad and I have been having these conversations here for several episodes now. We're in season 6, right, Dad?
If they're just joining us, they got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, they've got a lot of catching up to do, and maybe just set maybe a little bit of um, stage for you if you're just now joining us. Mom and Dad have spent a little over 50 years in full-time ministry, traveling really the world, sharing the gospel with um, children of all ages, from the young ones to the old ones. And this is a chance for Dad and I to sit down and kind of reflect on some of those stories over the last 5 decades. And some of them are new to me, some of them are familiar territory, but I suspect for the most part, they're probably all new to you. So if you find them enjoyable or encouraging, we just welcome you to go back through season 1. That's probably a really great place to start. And that really is an orientation to Dad's calling into ministry and some of those childhood experiences that really shaped his trajectory in life. And yeah, so here we are, season 6, and I'm looking forward to where we're headed tonight, Dad.
Well, you said before we hit the record button, let's put it in gear. And hey, for a road noise story, that's usually how we start off. Kedron will say, "Let's put it in gear," and then we hit the record button. And so I thought it's really probably only appropriate that I share this particular story with you because it's all about putting it in gear. It takes place in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Gudrun, you'll probably remember this event, but if not, I'll refresh your memory on it. But we were in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, for the International Fellowship of Christian Magicians Conference, and we'd been asked to do a puppet presentation for an evening show. And so in order to do that, we've got to get everything set up. And we had our bus and we had a team with us of teenagers and so forth. And it's going to take a while to get set up. And we're going to be at this absolutely beautiful theater right downtown Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
If
I mean, this is
right, Dad, that was the Paramount Theater.
the Paramount Theater.
Yeah.
It is an incredible place. And this was prior to the flood. Now, Cedar Rapids had a terrible flood a few years after we were there, and from what I understand, there was quite a bit of water inside that theater. I don't know how much damage it did or what the restoration was required on that building or if it's still standing, but it was probably worth preserving. I mean, it's been around a long time, just a beautiful theater. So a great place for us to, have an opportunity to set up and do a program in this gorgeous place. But like a lot of places, in order to get a bunch of equipment in, like we have, it would be a whole lot easier to go in the back door. Because if you go in the back door, you're real close to the stage. And so all of our equipment has to go on the stage. Now, if we go through the front door, you got to go through the ticket area and so forth and, down aisles. And then once you get to the front of the auditorium, you got to go up steps to get on the stage and so forth. So going in the back door is really the ideal way to do it. And so it's time for us to get this bus in position so that we can unload all the equipment and go in the back door. Well, in order to get to the back door, there's an alley. And this is not a very wide alley. It is one-way traffic only. I mean, if someone's coming in from the other end, you're not going, and so forth. So it's kind of first come, first serve. I don't remember seeing any one-way signs, but it's a narrow alley. But hey, I've had this bus in some tight quarters before, and so a narrow alley, I take a look at that and quickly make the calculation. We can do this. And so I'm pulling into the alley. I've got the nose of the bus in, but the back end of the bus is still out in the road. And just as I get my nose into the alley, straddling the sidewalk, I notice a truck comes in from the other side. Now, we're bigger than he is, but he's got a good sized load and he's coming pretty fast. And so I quick make the decision, okay, I need to stop. Okay, he stopped. All right, he's getting out. Yeah, he's going to be unloading. Oh my, this could take a while. And we really don't have time to wait for him to unload that truck. I mean, we got to get unloaded. What are we going to do now? Well, my first thought was, okay, I'll back up. We'll go out to the front of the building and hopefully we can find a place to park the bus, because now we're out there with all the, on the road. And is there going to be cars parked out there? We can't get anywhere close to the front door. I mean, this could end up being pretty ugly real quick if we can't get close to the door, and then we're going to have to unload all this stuff and, like I said, haul it all down the aisles and up the stairs, and meanwhile the clock's ticking. Okay, so the decision is made. We're not going to wait. And I go to back up, and there's no reverse. I mean, we just talked about putting it in gear. I'm trying to put it in gear, and there's no reverse in the bus. Okay, so I put it in first gear, and I can pull forward. Okay, so I pull forward a couple of feet. Now the back end of the bus is, just about on the sidewalk, and I quick go to reverse again. There's no reverse. Okay, can I go forward? Yeah, I can go forward. So I go forward another foot. Okay, stop and let's back out of here. There's no reverse. What in the world are we going to do now? I mean, it's kind of like one step forward and no steps back. We can go forward, but we cannot go backwards. Meanwhile, we got a truck in front of us blocking the, where we need to get to this back door of the theater. Well, I don't know if it was my idea or whose idea it was. It doesn't really matter. But somebody had the idea that we were carrying a four-wheel flatbed cart type of a thing. And someone suggested that, okay, just leave the bus here. Let's get that four-wheel cart out. We'll load it up. We'll wheel it down the alley. We can get past the truck with that and get one load to the back door, get it inside the door, and come back for another. We're going to have to make several trips. But remember, the clock is ticking, and so if it takes several trips, it's several trips, but it's probably going to be better than trying to take that cart all the way around to the front door and down the aisles. And so the decision was made, that's what we've got to do. Well, needless to say, it was several trips. We did get all the equipment into the back of the theater. And so, hey, I've got a seasoned crew. I mean, my family's there and we got the teenagers. We got a crew that knows what they're doing. And so I kind of abandoned the crew at that point and said, hey, go ahead and get everything set up. So we're ready to go for the program tonight. I got to go out and take care of the bus. So I go back out. Oh my, there's somebody waiting at the bus that wants to talk to me. It's a police officer. He had pulled up behind the bus and is waiting for somebody to show up because he has no idea, where's the driver, where's the passengers, I mean, what's going on here. So I show up and the police officer is, hey, hate to say this, but you can't leave that bus parked on the sidewalk here. You're blocking this. I says, officer, I understand. Let me tell you what's going on. So I explained the situation to him. I got kind of stuck here in the alley. I can't go forward any farther because you can see that other truck is unloading and reverses out. Well, I didn't have to prove to him that I couldn't back up, but he did buy the story and understood. But I assured him that just as soon as possible, I would have the bus out of there. I mean, otherwise, this poor guy in the truck, he's going to have to back all the way out. And that thought had crossed my mind that if he got everything unloaded soon enough, I could ask him to pull out if, and then we could pull in, in straight behind him. But like I said, the clock was ticking, and it ended up that four-wheel cart was the answer. Well, anyway, so the officer left, and I'm left there by myself with the bus. And it's like, okay, what in the world is going on? Well, the engine is in the back of the bus, which is pretty much out in the road, and the transmission is back there as well. So I go back there and I'm kind of looking the situation over, and there's the linkage that, I mean, when you shift it up front, it moves all this linkage clear in the back and puts it in and out of different gears. And so I'm trying to move things and things are stuck. But we had this long pipe, this steel pipe that we would attach to the handle of the lug wrench in order to change tires on the bus. And I got that steel pipe out and kind of used it as a lever, and I was able to force those that linkage and get the bus into reverse. All right. So now, of course, the bus isn't running or anything at this point, but at least it's in a gear which I'm thinking is reverse. And so I put everything away, run back up into the bus, started up. Of course, got my foot on the clutch, started up, let up on the clutch a little bit, and lo and behold, we're backing up. All right, so now I'm in the bus by myself and got to get it back out of the alley here, and can't really see if there's any cars coming or not. There's no one back there to back me up, but hey, it's pretty much as, let's just call it a Greyhound bus, right? So if I'm backing up and there's cars coming, even though I can't see them, they're probably not going to argue with me too much because I'm going to be bigger than just about anything else that's coming down the road there. And so I took my time and I did go ahead and back out of there and got the bus parked into a nice location where I could drive forward in order to get out of there. I made sure that the place that I parked the bus, I wouldn't have to back up in order to get back to that theater later that night so we could load up. Well, anyway, so talk about putting it in gear. I wish that we could have put it into gear that particular evening. Now, I've said all that just so I can share a verse found in Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 24. Here's a verse that probably everybody has memorized. Or not. It's a verse that probably a lot of people have never even read before. But let me share with you what it says, because it kind of goes along with what I just told you. Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 24. But they did not listen or pay attention. Instead, they followed their stubborn inclinations of their evil hearts. They went backward and not forward. Well, you'll have to read the context to see what that's all about, but needless to say, here's a group of people who followed their evil hearts and they went backwards instead of forwards. I think forwards is a good way to go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's one of, like, I'm sure hundreds of stories of bus mishaps or adventures, and it's fun to see how there's sometimes a little connection to maybe a little spiritual truth that we can reference and kind of lean into. And as you were describing going back to the bus where the engine and transmission is all at and finding this, pipe to do this work, it reminded me back to those early episodes where you got the first bus and your way to Alaska and you had to call in a phone a friend as you were just starting to get familiar with the Greyhound bus and big diesel bus. And by now this is probably your third bus, right?
Well,
Then
yeah, and that steel pipe came in handy for about 3 weeks before we were able to have that linkage fixed to the point where you could actually shift it without someone being in the back. But we got real good at that. In fact, you might have even been involved with that a time or two. I would stay in the driver's seat, and everybody knew where the steel pipe was. And okay, we need to back up. Someone jump out and go back there and do it. So yeah, we have some friends that we saw this past Saturday night that are traveling in a music ministry full time,
Mhm.
and they have a bus. And we saw them Saturday night in a concert, and wouldn't you know it, they got there a whole lot later than they had planned because their bus was having some problems too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It turns out these vehicles are mostly reliable. When they're not, they're not. So yeah,
They're made to run on down the road, and they do a good job. But Fred Bell said many years ago, if anything that is mechanical will break,
yep,
and they do break down.
yeah, yeah. Well, hey, that sounds like a good place to put it in park, anyways.
That's a gear that we can deal
Yeah,
with.
let's put it in park here, and we'll pick it up again next week.